Karl Tanzler didn't believe in coincidences. He believed in destiny. Growing up in Germany, he claimed to be visited by a ghostly ancestor, Countess Anna Constantia von Kozel. She showed him a face, a dark-haired, beautiful woman, his one true soulmate. For decades, Karl searched the globe. He moved to Key West, Florida in 1927, taking a job as an X-ray technician at the Marine Hospital. He was nearly 50. He had a wife and children he barely spoke to. He was waiting. Then, on April 22nd, 1930, she walked in, Elena de Hoyos, 21 years old, local beauty, and she was dying of tuberculosis. To anyone else, Elena was a patient in need of a miracle. To Karl, she was the face from his dreams. The vision had finally arrived, and she was coughing up blood. Karl didn't just treat Elena. He consumed her life. He brought specialized X-ray equipment to her home. He showered her with expensive silks, jewelry, and perfumes. He begged her to marry him. Elena's family was poor. They accepted the gifts. But Elena, she never returned his love. To her, he was just a strange, intense old man, a doctor who wouldn't let her die in peace. On October 25th, 1931, the battle ended. Elena took her last breath. Karl was devastated. But he wasn't done. He paid for a massive, expensive stone mausoleum for her. And he kept the only key for 2 years, every single night. Karl visited the tomb. He sat with her, he talked to her. He claimed her spirit would appear at the bars of the mausoleum, singing to him in Spanish, begging him to take her away. The humidity of Key West is brutal. Inside that stone box, nature was taking its course. But in Karl's mind, Elena wasn't rotting. She was waiting. In April 1933, he decided he could no longer stand the separation. He brought a toy wagon to the cemetery under the cover of a moonless night. He opened the casket. He didn't see a corpse. He saw his bride. He loaded what was left of Elena into the wagon and wheeled her home. This is where the story shifts from tragic romance to a nightmare. Elena had been dead for 2 years. Karl had to become a creator. The skin was gone, so he replaced it with silk cloth soaked in wax and plaster. The eyes had dissolved, so he pushed glass spheres into the sockets. The hair had fallen out, so he gathered it from her head and fashioned a wig. He used piano wire to bind her bones together so they wouldn't slide onto the floor. He filled her abdominal cavity with rags to give her shape. And the smell? He used gallons of formaldehyde and cheap perfume to mask the scent of decaying meat. He dressed her in a wedding gown. He put her in his bed. And for 7 years, he lived with her. Rumors began to swirl in Key West. People saw Karl through the window, dancing with a tall, stiff doll. They saw him buying women's clothing years after Elena had died. In October 1940, Elena's sister Nana finally confronted him. She pushed past him into the bedroom. She expected to find a shrine. Instead, she found a monster. A waxy, yellowed figure lay on the bed, wearing jewelry and a veil. The authorities were called. Karl was arrested, but the horror wasn't over. The autopsy revealed something the public didn't want to hear. A paper tube had been inserted into the pelvic area of the corpse. Karl Tanzler wasn't just preserving her, he was using her. Here is the ultimate contradiction. When the story broke, the public didn't hate Karl. They pitied him. Thousands of people lined up to see Elena's mummy on display at a local funeral home. Women brought flowers to Karl's jail cell. They called him a hopeless romantic who loved a woman beyond the grave, because the statute of limitations on grave robbing had expired. Carl Tanzler walked free. He moved to Pasco County, Florida. He lived alone until the day he died in 1952. He had a life-sized wax effigy of Elena by his side. He was found on the floor, his arms wrapped around the doll. Carl Tanzler proved one thing: death isn't the end of a story if the person left behind refuses to let go.